Howdy, guys. Welcome to Cliff Notes and a very special episode of the challenge, Double Agents. Now, y'all know I do a recap every week of what's happened in the previous episode. But after the last episode, I have a nephew by the name of Robert Hogg. This way, that way, over here. Yeah. Robert has got to be the Hogg family's absolute expert when it comes to the challenge. Does fantasy leagues, has watched every season, has a very good feel what's going on. And as y'all know, over the past couple of weeks, it's kind of been the Fessy show. Seems like it's been like that all season long. But certainly over the last couple of weeks, Fessy was involved in a lot of the action. And I threw out on my last recap that I felt like Fessy had done pretty well in getting a skull and everything else that happened. Well, Robert immediately reached out to me and said, maybe I got a little bit different opinion. So I wanted to bring Robert on just for a quick little discussion to talk about his opinions on what Fessy's done, where he's headed, probably just the season in general so far. So, Robert, thank you for coming on. Thank you for giving me my some of your expertise so we can talk about this, in particular with Fessy. So, first off, just as a refresher, I guess, and then we'll get into it. As y'all recall, last episode, or 2 episodes ago, Tori and Devin controlled. They were the top agents. We ended up getting Amber, M, and Nelson into the elimination ring. And then a little bit of a surprise that Tori and Devin end up throwing Fessy and Anissa into the ring alongside them. Men's challenge. So we end up with Fessy against Nelson. Fessy wins a hall brawl. He wins his gold skull, but he also upsets a few people. Do you think it was worth it, Robert? What you're thinking on how that?
See, I loved Fessy last season. I watched him on Big Brother. Always thought he'd be a beast on the challenge. He showed up, was a hell of a competitor, made his first final, rooted him for the whole time. But with this one, he got him with Team Young Bucks, which I think is a great move because, as we see, the challenge is not about any individual season. Like, you always want to win, but it's about kind of building that community. So when you go into the next season, you have a lot of numbers. Whereas I think Fessy ruining his relationship with TYB, like Corey and Nelson, I think that was not the move, because as we see, like, some of the OGs start to kind of filter out, I think these guys are going to be really strong in the coming seasons. And Fessy is a physical threat to anyone. Like, we saw him go head to head with CT in a straight up physical challenge, and neither one could win. So they're obviously both just pretty much badasses. And I think he could have beat pretty much anyone on the show in a physical elimination. I think by ruining his relationship with Corey and Nelson, Corey already showed in the last season that he was going to put him in no matter what.
Yeah.
I just don't know if that was the move.
Yeah. And that's pretty funny that you mentioned that, because with myself and I guess more of a focus on kind of the Big Brother strategy, where you play one season, once that person's out of the house, you don't really care that much about them.
Right.
And so I was thinking the same thing with Fessy, that, he maybe has Corey mad at him, but Nelson, whatever, Nelson's gone. But from your standpoint, he's not just playing for this season. He's playing for those relationships on and on and on down the road.
Yeah, I think, if he wants to be a career challenger, he doesn't want to be one of those guys that's constantly a snake and double crossing, especially for a hall brawl against his boy.
Yeah.
He could have when he had the opportunity to go against Joseph, he could have done that, got his gold skull. He could go against anyone and get that gold skull. And I agree with you where you said that's the name of the game. Get in there, get a gold skull. But he's just too much of a beast to take that opportunity then.
Well, and you're right. If there was a chance, if you're going to just fight your way in or do a physical challenge, going against Joseph sure made a whole lot more sense than going against Nelson. And I know he's a beast, but Nelson gave him a battle. I was so impressed with Nelson. He gave it everything he had. That was a hell of a challenge to watch.
After last season, Nelson and Corey became probably my favorite Big Brother duo. And that's why it's bad to double cross one of them. In every season they're going to be I don't trust that guy.
Well, and especially because those two guys really showed last season, there's a lot of loyalty between the two of them. That they stand by the people that they work with. So, yeah, I guess you have to balance that versus now you've got a gold skull. I know Fessy wanted, of all the challenges, to go in and do the hall brawl and everything else. I know he really wanted that. Do you think he had it pre-planned with Tori and Devin to get called out based on what challenge maybe they thought it was going to be?
I think so. I think we kind of saw a hint at him and Tori being like kind of buddy.
Yeah.
And I definitely think that he kind of conspired to get himself in if it was a hall brawl, which Tori, like, I mean, she's obviously not there anymore, but she was playing a cocky game too.
Yeah.
And I don't know if she was the right person to get in with at that point.
And it's also interesting as well because I've been watching so much, and you've got these different little groups. You've got the newbies, or at least the younger players. You've got the old vets, and then you've got kind of this other group of the BB alums that sometimes it seems like they're working together, and sometimes, Josh just exploded with Fessy. He was upset, but Josh seems to get upset with everyone every time he does anything.
Josh is one of my favorite players to watch because he's always gonna kind of shit.
Yeah, he was. Now go ahead.
Another thing, like that move kind of made Josh mad too. Like Josh wanted to get in there, and the past 3 seasons we've seen Josh on, he has made big moves to call someone out purely based on emotion. And I would never want to piss Josh off just because he does follow up and will make the dumb move and throw in someone, even if it hurts his allies, it hurts everyone around him.
Yeah, I agree. I get that Josh wanted to go in and all of that, but he was so upset after the fact. And I don't know, I just don't know. Even if you feel like you've been burned and everything else, burning bridges with someone that probably has your back to some degree a lot of times just doesn't always make sense. But as you say, sometimes Josh will work off of emotion a little bit more and passion off of just straight up logic and strategy. So is there another, should Fessy have just not said, hey, leave me out of this, I'll win somewhere down the road? Or is there just a better way you think he could have prepped these people so they weren't so caught off guard?
Well, I don't think there's any way he could have prepped Nelson to be like, hey, I'm going to go down there in a hall brawl just because it's Fessy. There's not many people. There's no one that I can think of on that season that would definitely beat Fessy in a hall brawl.
Yeah.
But I think he's such a competitor that he could have stuck it out, probably won another elimination and chose to go down at a later time. And that goes against what I think. I always love when the guy who's in charge goes down and gets his own skull.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Get called out like that.
But here's the deal this season, and I thought about this as well. There's only 10 skulls being distributed. I assume 5 for guys, 5 for women. Maybe that's not the case, but there are already 3 gold skulls for the guys at that point in time. If I recall, I may be off by 1, but do you think how much of it came into play of people saying, dang, there's maybe only a couple more skulls out there? Someone as powerful as Fessy, could you have had people maybe saying, we're going to intentionally not vote him into the house and see if we can keep him from ever going into the elimination arena just so that he doesn't get a gold skull and doesn't get a chance to compete in the final? And if any of that was going through his head, could that have made him a little more panicky and maybe force the issue in his mind a little bit?
Yeah, I don't know. It seems a little early to that because the only way that he wouldn't have to go in eventually would be if they had a purge or something.
Yeah.
And I don't know. And I know Fessy doesn't always make the best moves, as I saw on Big Brother, but I just think you got to bide your time and go against someone that you don't want in a final. If you're Fessy, you want to run that final with Corey.
Yeah.
Those are your boys. And he could still probably beat him in a final.
Yeah. I've got mixed feelings. On one hand, he's got the skull, and I think you have to focus on that. But you're right, and especially even if he's wanting to go into the ring, once he sees that his buddy Nelson's in there, does that change things around a little bit? And perhaps it should have, even though obviously it didn't. So once he wins it, and he now has his chance to switch up partners. What do you think about him dumping Anissa and picking up KC? Both of those decisions. How do you think that went?
I'm not surprised he dumped Anissa.
He made that pretty clear, didn't he?
I agree with you. I love Anissa. Like, definitely glad that she's getting some respect this season. Like, I do think she's a beast. I don't know if I would want to run a final with her.
Yeah.
Because she does, the endurance is the thing that she doesn't always do well with. And if you're looking at it that standpoint, I mean, Casey's also a beast.
Yeah.
So, but it put Casey in a tough spot.
Yeah. It was. So you've seen more seasons than I have. It seems like some seasons, if you're partnered up, that sometimes you have to compete in the final as a partnership. And sometimes once you make it to the finals and everyone's kind of free agents and they're doing their own thing, does the challenge over the years tend to go one way or the other when they have partners, or do we have any way of knowing at this point in time if they're going to have to compete together?
We don't. A lot of times in the past few seasons, I feel like we've seen a lot of like, it'll be an equal number of guys and girls. And then you either have to run it with your partner, which I don't think they would do this time, because I feel like they've done that mostly in like exes or like rivals. Whereas when you have this kind of situation, I feel like they've done a lot of like partner rotations where you have to run one wing with a partner, which I love to see those. I think they kind of balance it out, because it does. I think that forces you as a competitor to kind of vote on who you would want to run a final with on any given leg of the race. And I like that, because I want the strongest people running TJ's final.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be any layups in there. So I think that having the possibility of, I may have to do the 10-mile hike with them kind of makes you say, this person's weak, I got to get them out of here. Yeah. I'd rather run with people who could at least beat me in a final, because I'll also get to run parts of that with them. So I hope it's that kind of final, because I think it makes for a stronger final.
Yeah, I hope. I guess so. I don't know. I've got mixed feelings. You're right. I think it'll bring stronger people into the end of it. There's a part of me that always says, man, I'd hate to see someone lose just because they depended on someone else. I want to see everyone just, it's all or nothing. It's up to you at the end and all that. But you're right. It brings stronger people in. So we'll see it. Yeah. And Fessy made it pretty clear that he didn't have a whole lot of faith in Anissa from an endurance standpoint.
Yeah.
But karma was kind of king.
Yeah.
He boots her out the door and he's hooked right back up with her again.
I love that. Because I think they're going to win again. Like, they're both kind of going off this season. So I'm sure Fessy's not pumped about it.
Do you think, is Anissa mad at Fessy, or is she now just like, hey, I got a strong guy next to me and I'm cool with where we're at now again?
I don't think Anissa's mad with him. She could be. Yeah. I feel like Fessy's like kind of he's never going to like say really hurtful things to Anissa. He'll probably just like kind of play it off. Yeah. And I think Anissa's looking for that win, and she thinks that Fessy is going to be the ride to the final.
I could see that. Now, here's another question for you. And I kind of mentioned that on some of my past shows, recaps. Would you feel more comfortable if you're Fessy and you've got a gold skull? Would you feel more comfortable if your partner is someone like KC that's a badass athlete but doesn't yet have a gold skull, as opposed to Anissa, where you may question a little bit her endurance and things, but she also has a gold skull and therefore has no incentive to want you as a couple or a duo to go back into that ring or to get put up by everyone else in the house? Does it expose you too much if y'all both have gold skulls, or does it protect you?
I don't know. I want to say that it exposes you, and I guess it kind of goes back to what you were saying is, we don't know. It could be 5 guys and 5 girls, and then people without gold skulls are having to call in people with gold skulls to try to. Yeah. And at that point, like, Anissa's the only girl with one right now. Yeah. But if it's a bunch of other like kind of strong women, Anissa may be called in more often than not, just because people kind of doubt her.
Yeah.
So I think it may just kind of get them forgotten about.
Yeah.
But it also could put a huge target on their back later on in the game.
I guess some of it maybe depends on how well people feel like they can predict whether it's going to be a men's elimination or a women's elimination, or with so many people still there and so few skulls to go out, are there going to be some other ways that this a purge or something else where maybe it's more than just one person at a time? I don't know. I just feel like I would feel a lot more comfortable if I was Fessy, not worrying that Casey's going to want to throw herself in there and take a chance that if it turns out to be a men's elimination, then suddenly you're exposed as well. And Fessy, as much as he wanted to do that physical challenge, a hall brawl and all that, I think he's also scared to death that he's going to get thrown in one of these times where it's not a physical activity. It's one of the puzzles or something else, which I don't think he feels like his strength, and he's probably correct in that assumption.
Yeah, I definitely think he's hoping for no puzzles for sure. Yeah. I think that's his downfall, and it probably is right. I don't know. I just think he got a bet on there's going to be another one. I don't know. Like, definitely, I'm glad he has his gold skull. I think sacrificing a relationship with TYB is just, it's hard to get on in future seasons. Like, people think Wes is a rat, or like now he comes in and sometimes he just goes out because people don't trust him.
Yeah. And and I guess ever since I've been watching, Wes has always had a little bit of that reputation. So I maybe didn't see that initially develop as much. But Fessy, it seemed like people kind of looked at him as the good guy that was a strong athlete that, for the most part did the right thing. And maybe he's burned some bridges with that now. So yeah, good.
Yeah.
We'll see how that works out.
I do like that he's starting to play a more like kind of a stronger game. Like, he's not just sitting back and being an athlete. I like that he's making moves, even if I don't think they're always right.
Yeah. It's going to be tough. I mean, I picture some of these people that don't have skulls yet. If they have to call someone back into the arena to try to take a skull from someone else, I just don't see him calling out Fessy unless they know it's going to be a puzzle or something. I see Kyle or someone else maybe getting called out way before Fessy ever is. But again, if you don't know if it's men versus women, and some strong woman wants to go up against Anissa to get a skull, Fessy may be some collateral damage one of these days.
Yeah, he could definitely end up getting called back in there at some point, even if I don't think anyone's going to do it on purpose. I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either. I talked about last week, if I was on the challenge doing the hall brawl, I'd give him a lick. I wouldn't back off. I'd hit him as hard as I could, but then they'd probably have to cart me off. That'd be the end of my... I stood next to Fessy at the Big Brother rap, and that guy is an athletic beast. I would not want to go up with him, which made it just that much more impressive how well Nelson did.
Yeah, so impressive, especially after seeing him go against CT. Like, CT's definitely in better shape than he was last season.
Yeah.
And the fact that they just stalled out on that one really badass challenge.
Yeah.
I love to see that, because that was the headbanger that I think everyone wanted to see.
I really like some of these challenges. I love the hall brawl. I liked, was it the week before, 2 weeks before, where it was Devin and Wes going against each other in that tug of war where they're side by side reaching for the button. Yeah, I love to just see people, whoever has the determination to make it happen.
Yeah, those are definitely the best challenges. And I also have to say, I love Big T and CT's partnership this season. I think the best of all time.
CT giving her, give me your angry face, be mean, be mad. That was great.
That was great. We rewinded and watched that over like 3 times just because it was such a funny CT moment.
That was fun. All right, now you're not just an expert, but you're playing the fantasy leagues and all that. So who are your picks? Who are you cheering for the last half? I guess we're not quite halfway there, but getting there. Who are your picks to win this thing that you want to win?
So on my team, I always pick Josh because you get points based on arguments, and Josh is always leading the league. The other guy, really rooting for Kyle this season.
Okay.
Ever since he got on, definitely want to see a Kyle win at some point. And then I think I want to see Jay get far.
Oh, me too.
I think Jay brings something to the challenge that not a lot of other like new players have brought, where he's just really good at certain eliminations.
Yeah. Man, they tried so hard last season. What he did, like the first 3 eliminations in a row, and they just eventually got him out. But that guy, people seem to I can't believe they're underestimating him again this season, and maybe not so much as last year, but
he can take it and he can give it right back.
Yeah, that's good. I've got cheer for my Big Brother alums. They're always the top, but I really want Corey Nelson to do well just because last season I felt for him so much and everything.
Right.
And then I got cheer for the big underdogs, people like Anissa and Big T, some of the people that no one really expects anything to come of it. So,
yeah, sometimes those underdogs go pretty far.
Hey, sometimes underdogs do okay. But now I've had a blast this season. It's been a lot of fun. But hey, I appreciate the input because. Again, I want Fessy to do well. At the end of the day, he got the gold skull, and if you look at it just strictly from this season, it seemed like it's an okay deal. But you're right. If you're talking relationships and who's going to be on your side next season and the season after and all that, then he's got little relationship makeups to do, huh?
Yeah, that's just my take. I hope he maybe builds some more relationships in the in between seasons or something, maybe with Tori or her group. I don't know.
So what do you think about Ashley coming back? Final question.
I'd love to see Millionaire Mitchell back. She's also always great on Challenge Fantasy just because she can win challenges. She can win puzzles, and then she can also just freak out on people. And love to see her back. Me and my roommates were kind of talking about it. I'm sure this is obvious, but I guess normally they have alternates, but I guess maybe she couldn't leave the country because of the thing. So she was probably, or I'm just speculating, she could have still been in the country, and that was the only person they had to bring back.
Okay. Well, that could be. Okay, I gotta say, I was gonna shut down, but one more. I feel so sorry for Bailey and Swaggy from last season. They go on to the challenge, and they end up in a bunker in the Czech Republic or wherever. The most horrific Spartan settings and everything, as compared to this year where, it's kind of cold, which I would hate, and all that. But the settings, the environment looks pretty cool this season. I've really enjoyed that part.
I thought last season was great. The bunker grew on me, but I love the first episode, everyone running into the house, getting to do the toast. That's always a challenge classic for me.
Yeah, it's great. I'm having a blast. I'm so glad I've gotten into the challenge, and thank you for giving me a little expert opinion as I try to continue to pick up on all this stuff. So thank you, Robert. I appreciate it.
I'm glad to have someone else in the family to talk about it.
Hey, if it's reality TV, I'm probably paying attention in some form or matter. So, all right, we're gonna do this again because I appreciate the input, and another episode. We're gonna see what the after effects of all of this are. Anissa and Fessy, whether he wants it or not, they're back together as a duo once again. Maybe they'll just run the table the rest of the way, and he'll have his worst nightmare of having to run a final with Anissa, and she'll save his ass, and then we'll all be amazed and surprised and happy.
Yeah, I would love to see that too, honestly. But definitely thanks for having me. It's been a blast.
All right, Robert, thank you much, and we'll talk again.
All right, see ya.
Cheers.